I would like to issue an official apology for taking a long-ass time to make this video. You see, I was busy being a ball-ass playa and making other videos, but I'm finally fulfilling my promise I made in the tier list video, doing a review of HROT. I probably should have done this a little while earlier, considering the full release of the game was in May, but, you know, video gaming. So this review will be a little atypical in the way that I ain't gonna go over every single level in the game, and there is a reason for this. You see, this game is a very not normal retro shooter. Most of the newer releases are focused on high-speed movement, extremely satisfying gunplay, decent enough looking environments, and some kind of story, usually a very loose one. HROT is different because it only does like half of that, but that doesn't result in it being bad. I view this game more as an art project of sorts, rather than a fully fleshed out game experience, but that's not to say there's no video game here for you to play. There is no story, none at all, and everything within the game is some sort of reference to life in Czechoslovakia in the 80s. This all results in a really fucking weird game, because there's no central story to go off of, and what is here is referencing things that most of the players aren't gonna know of. I will put a link in the description for a Steam post that actually explains what everything is, just in case you would like to know. All of these things culminate into a very strange experience where the moment-to-moment gameplay isn't bad, but it's not really trying to blow you out of the water either. What it does do is give you a feeling. It gives a strong atmosphere. There's an overwhelming sense of almost sterility in how quiet the areas are and how muted all the buildings look. That's one thing I find fascinating, is this game is somehow more brown than Quake. I didn't know that was something you could do, but HROT certainly does achieve it. I've seen some people say the weaponry in HROT is lacking, but I would disagree. Just like the rest of the game, I don't think they're necessarily trying to impress you. They're just there to get the job done. The mandatory melee weapon is a silly little sickle. It is shit, and you should never use it. The first gun you get is a dinky little pistol. It does some damage, sounds alright, and has a weird little reload thing that no other gun does. This is also the only gun in the game that allows you to dual fire once you get 2 of them. I would say the best use for them is to shoot something from a far range, otherwise use literally anything else. The first real gun you get is of course a shotgun, which it's just okay. It does sound a little weak, mainly during the pump. It sounds a lot like a Nerf gun. It's immediately outclassed by the super shotgun, which does basically the same thing, but better, and it actually sounds like a gun. Just like every other retro shooter, the super shotgun is what you'll use the most because Doom 2 made it cool. This is all followed by an SMG, a grenade launcher, a crossbow, and a Tesla gun, as well as landmines if you care about those. These weapons all do what you expect them to and have no alt fires, seeing as they are all generally realistic. I don't want to say these guns are bland because they are all fun enough to use against the enemies that are here. They aren't really doing much in terms of flamboyance. As I said before, they all do what you think they're gonna do. They get the job done and make sure whatever is in front of you isn't there for much longer. The most dynamic weapon you have is your own leg, because by kicking, you can get some distance between enemies, as well as kick grenades back towards the sender. Oh, and you can throw grenades with mouse too, but you might as well just shoot it from the grenade launcher.
I'm not upset with y'all because I know you're mentally ill.
The gaggle of goons that HROT will throw at you is where things start to get a little quirky. The more normal ones all happen to be human-like, with gas mask goons, which sometimes puke, fat policemen that fire off grenades, and shotgunners in hazmat suits. Where the enemy list gets a little more insane is with just about every other enemy. There's floating heads that dim your vision if they shoot you, legless people in wheelchairs, horses, dogs, pig creatures, and fucking helicopters. In the third episode, you'll run into anthropomorphic newts, some of which have grenade launchers. There's also these snakes, which have a ludicrous amount of health. These weird enemy designs really exemplify HROT's strange sense of humor. Like, you'll be fighting normal enemies for a while, and then there's a horse running around, or a cultist on a moped. I wouldn't say any of them are really annoying to fight other than the dog. You should kick the dog. There are also bosses scattered throughout the levels. These are also really fucking weird and usually pretty simple. There is, however, one that I must complain about, and it is the final boss. So as I was playing through HROT for the first time, I was enjoying it. I was having a good time, so I was wondering how they gonna end all of this. And then I get to the arena and it's Putin riding a bear. Like, yeah, I get the joke, but I don't know, man. Maybe referencing some internet meme wasn't the way to go. Kinda up to the player to decide if it's funny, but whatever, man. What really irked me, though, was how fucking long it is. It gets to the point where you're scrounging for ammo around the arena, and there's still another phase to go through. This boss just annoyed me more than anything. I wouldn't say it was bad, but I do think it could have been done a little bit better.
Puta, 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 puta,
The levels in HROT are actually one of its strong suits. From playing through these, I can tell the developer has learned from other shooters and knows what works and what doesn't. The way these levels loop back on themselves is quite frankly genius. The placement of locked doors and their keys is also very well done. One slight complaint about the keys though, it can be a little hard to tell them apart. At a glance, it's hard to tell the difference between the brown key and the less brown key, which can cause a delay in level progression because you went to the wrong door. Other than that, these are all very solid maps. I especially enjoy all the little interactable things just placed wherever. They add a lot to the already strong atmosphere. I'd also like to mention the secret level and what leads up to it. In E3M4, after collecting the first key, you'll find a cage with a small dog in it. This is a Prague ratter, and there are 3 of them in this level. These little goobers will eat any rat that you encounter, and you can interact with them by giving them a treat. If you do it a couple times, they'll even puke on the floor. Anyway, after you go through most of the level and loop back around to this marked wall, you can fall down this hole and find the secret level, the rat house. The first bit of it is like a normal level, but then you'll come to this large open area which has the Orlodge, or the Orloge, I don't fucking know, which is a real structure that is a 600-year-old clock that tells the positions of the sun, moon, and certain constellations, as well as the year, month, day, and time. What you see in HROT is a real-time simulator of the Orlodge. Anyway, here's a horse with a gimp mask. This game is very strange. The levels are separated into 3 episodes, each one introducing new enemies and location types, but for the most part, the levels can be grouped up into industrial facility, small town, underground mine, small village/farm, and ancient castle. These are done very well, but I do kind of wish there was a smidgen more of location variety, but what is here is executed pretty good. There's also 4 endless mode arenas, just to give you some more fun. And that's HROT, a very alright retro shooter that gets everything right but doesn't try to impress you. I would say to pick this up only if you are very much into retro shooters, but if you do really want to play this game, it's not a bad starting point for the genre. Before you leave, please subscribe. My family was gravely injured in a juggling accident in the Swiss Alps, and subscribing would greatly help to mend their frostbitten appendages. As always, the Willis cord is linked in the description. Hope to see you there. Have a good one.